right, everybody. February 16th, 2019, 2:03 a.m. And I just wanted to talk about an observation I made. I was, looking into earthquakes and, the hot spots in recent days and months, and even looking back into the years to see if there's any patterns going on. And I spoke earlier in a video about Alaska and obviously the West Coast being very active zones, especially with smaller quakes. I have this set right now for a single day, all magnitude. So this is all the action that we've seen between Alaska and the west coast of the U.S. Now, setting that aside, that is just an observation. Setting that aside, I want to go to the past 7 days, 4.5 and higher, which would be significant quakes. And besides the fact that the west part of the Pacific Ocean is always the most active zone and extremely overactive in the past couple years, and getting more and more active, it seems almost every day, with very significant, very large earthquakes that always pose a threat to the west coast of the U.S. via tsunami. However that may happen, it's a distance to travel, but they will make it there if something bad were to happen here, or if, for example, a video Caroline actually pointed out when two earthquakes of significant size went off at the same exact time. Now, if something like that were to happen, that would cause, obviously, a worse situation than if one earthquake were to cause a tsunami, so on and so forth. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make here is we always talk about the West Coast being the big threat based on the fact that California is constantly moving with small quakes. We're waiting for the big one. We're overdue based on past history. But I've noticed a pattern here as far as the East Coast being involved, and that's the Atlantic, the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, and then the ridge itself being involved. And that is, there have been more significant quakes in the last 7 days on this side of the U.S. than there have been on this side. And then when you go to the 30 days of 4.5s and higher, you notice something else pretty interesting. If I can get it to work there. We've had the exact amount on either side. So it's been an equal amount, and we just had some recent action as far as a 5.0 earthquake and a 6.0. Both of these were in the last 24 hours. 6.2 and the northern mid-Atlantic ridge. This was all over YouTube today, as it is a big quake to have in this area, especially at a depth of 10 kilometers. More than likely shallower than that, being that this website only goes down to 10 kilometers. So it's just interesting how there's just as many significant earthquakes on the west coast as there are on the east side. I know the east mid-Atlantic ridge is far off the coast, but still the same result will happen when a significant quake actually does strike. And these are considered significant, even though there was no real damage or anything done to the U.S. off these quakes, or we would have known about it by now. But the point basically is, what I'm trying to make is that the Mid-Atlantic Ridge is acting up and has been acting up more and more. So the East Coast, I believe, is just as much at threat as the West Coast is when it comes to a big earthquake, and something in the near future too as well. Yes, of course, we have this nonsense, complete craziness going on over here. Basically, every significant volcano and area that can move is moving right now in the western part of the Pacific Ocean, and that's just gaining more and more speed, as we go across time. So I'll leave that to the other experts. But just as I said, just an observation I made: the significant quakes in the Atlantic Ocean as opposed to the Pacific side that we always are used to talking about and waiting for. You never know, guys. It could, you're watching the right hand as the left hand is doing the damage type thing. So, all right, I just wanted to point that out. And one more thing before I let you go, and that is based on the earthquake year. As of right now, the most significant quake we've had this year was that 6.7 in Chile. I'm sure a lot of you remember that. We covered that quake back in January, which was not that long ago. And then under that, it was the 6.6 in Puerto Madero, Mexico, on February 1st. So two significant quakes, basically, yes, on the Pacific Ring of Fire, and then we have up until The Utah quake, which happened earlier today, the 3.8 in Utah was pretty significant. This is the most significant quake in the last 7 days. Was the 6.2 in the northern Mid-Atlantic ridge, which we just spoke about yesterday. Technically, Valentine's Day, 6.2 miles in depth. I wanted to verify that because the other site said 10 kilometers. So that is very shallow for a quake of this size to be in this area. So certainly something to keep our eyes on and to continue to watch. So that's what I got for you guys. Thanks for paying attention. I will talk to you all very soon. Bye-bye.